when I reorganized the course to make up for last week a little bit, stuff got moved down so that the discussions are happening about a week after we finish that material. And at first I was like, oh, I have to move that up there. But then I was thinking, maybe it would be good to have it like the discussion not due the day after we finish Othello. So is discussion number 3 going to be for the fourth 6 weeks? It's in the fourth 6 weeks. So what I did was I already finished the grades for the fourth 6 weeks. They're due today. So what I did was I went ahead and anybody who hadn't finished discussion number 3 in Blackboard, I just went ahead and gave you an incomplete for your report card grade for right now, because I want to get everybody finished with discussion number 3 by Sunday. There are only 3 grades for the fourth 6 weeks. So if I take discussion number 3 out, then that's just 2 grades, and that's sort of meager. So yeah, I'm leaving discussion number 3 in the fourth 6 weeks. But if you hadn't had a chance to complete discussion number 3 yet, then your report card is just going to show an I. There is an average in the portal. You can see in the grade book what your average is, because there's a 0 like holding the place and encouraging you to finish your discussion. But that's not the grade that will show up on your report card. The grade that will show up on your report card will be the I. And then sometime next week, I'll finish grading those, the ones that came in. Some people, I guess, are going to take the weekend to do it. I put a deadline of Sunday for discussion number 3 so that we can just start fresh next week. We have a new unit. We have also new discussion next week. So it's a good time to just close everything out. Do you know who to contact if our password is expired? Yeah, for Blackboard or for East? Because if it's the portal, oh, I can reset it for you. I'll email you. I'll do it right after we finish for today. I can reset your portal password. It's going to reset your Google password too, like the whole shebang. So do you need it, or is that for Sean? Because that's what he put him in his email, that he was having trouble getting into the portal. Yeah, I had some questions yesterday too, and I was able to reset people's passwords. What I can do is I can go into the gradebook and I can change your password to something, and I usually put wildcats and some numbers, and I'll email you what that is, but you're going to have to re-log into your Google and all of that stuff. Yeah, so do you need it, Christina, or just Sean? Okay. I emailed Sean back that I would change it, but I didn't want to do it until he said, yeah, go ahead and do it, because it locks you out of everything when that happens. So what I'll do is oh, how are you going to see the email? I'll figure something out. Okay, yeah, I can do that as soon as we're finished with class today. No problem. Yeah, I think when they brought everything back online, it did a bunch of funky stuff. So I'll email you about it, and then I'll reset it for you. Okay, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, so if you need to finish up, almost everybody in this class needs to finish up with discussion number 3, but do that by Sunday. And then that way I can put the grades in, I can lift your incomplete for the East grade, and we'll be back up to speed with the units. So we're starting unit 3 next week, the restoration in the 18th century. Okay. And then the paper's coming up. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the essay in a little more detail. Now that we've finished Othello, it's about Othello and you have a choice on different topics. So we'll spend some time tomorrow talking about that. Also tomorrow, I will give you a study guide for the midterm. So then that gives you 2 weeks to work on reviewing and asking any questions that you might have about the midterm. And I'll go over exactly what the midterm is going to be like tomorrow. And we'll also finish watching the Othello film because we won't get through Acts 3, 4, and 5 all today. So we'll finish watching that tomorrow. All right, let's spend a little time with the Act 5 study guide. Hopefully you've already, oh, that rhymes, the Act 5 study guide. Never mind my mad flow today, kids. I know that's dorky, right? So Act 5 is the culmination of the play, right? Act 5 is when, you know, all of Iago's plans and machinations and Machiavellian plots come together, and he's successful in them. He successfully ruins Othello to the point that Othello commits suicide, but not before he kills his own wife. And she's innocent, right? So Iago, in all of his little plots and schemes and convincing Othello that Desdemona was unfaithful with Cassio, gets several people killed. We have a lot of deaths in Act 5. Rodrigo gets killed by Cassio, right? Desdemona gets killed by Othello. Emilia gets killed by Iago, her own husband. Hopefully this is not spoilers because you're supposed to read Act 5. Othello gets killed by himself. He commits suicide. And we hear about the death of Brabantio, who is Desdemona's father. Remember that guy back in Act 1? He has died also. We don't see that on stage, but we hear about it through Lodovico and Graziano, who have arrived from Venice. So there's 5 deaths just in this one act, and all of them are because of Iago, except Brabantio, really. So all of that is on Iago's head here. Do you think that, I mean, here's a question. At the end, after all those deaths and everything is sort of revealed, they find some letters on Rodrigo's body that implicate Iago, and they sort of piece together with some stuff that Emilia knows before she gets killed. Do you think that Iago's punishment is worth his crime, is equal to his crime? I mean, is he getting away with it? What do you think? Anybody? Oh, there's only 2 of you, but all the better to be less nervous. At the end, I mean, they do capture him and they tell Cassio, you can punish this guy. Yeah, I think he got away with it. Yeah, he's going to be punished, but we don't even know what that punishment is. And is it worth the deaths of 4 people? I mean, here's my problem. I feel like Iago had a right to be a little bit upset that he was overlooked for a promotion. But that happens to people like every day, right? Like there are people all over the place who are like, oh, they promoted so and so instead of me. But they don't go out to ruin that person's life, instigate an idea that that their wife has been unfaithful to them, causing this whole cascade of murder. And I mean, their whole innocent relationship is ruined, and Desdemona dies not even knowing what she did, and she just sort of like lets her husband kill her, and the whole time she's like, I don't know what I did, but if whatever, my lord, you know. And I mean, I feel like the complaint of Iago is this big. Oh, you didn't promote me, you promoted Cassio instead. And then the way that he lashes out about that is so enormous in comparison that it like doesn't match up, right? Like the vengeance is so overwhelming. Some people have suggested that it's not just the vengeance, that it's racism, and that Iago is upset because Othello has married a white woman. And so it's not just like he's just using this excuse of, oh, I was overlooked for this promotion, but really he just can't stand it that the two of them are together and seemingly happy. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough evidence in the text to support that, but it just seems like his reaction is so over the top compared to the offense that he perceives from Othello. He even tries to get Cassio killed. He's too you know, chicken to do it himself, so he gets Rodrigo to try to do it. It's not successful, but he's just so evil in his intent, and I don't think that he's got enough of a complaint to warrant that. So, I mean, we don't really know what his punishment's going to be, but I don't know if it's worth all the stuff that he did. I mean, you have to practically put him on death row, right? All right. So yeah, all of those different deaths occur, and it's a super tragedy. In Shakespearean dramas, it's a lot like that a lot of the time. There's a huge lead up and all this complicated setup. There's a moment in Act 3 where there's some sort of realization, and it's the climax. In this case, it's when Othello accepts and believes that Desdemona has been unfaithful to him because of all the hard work of Iago. And then the rest of it's just a train wreck, right? Like the rest of it, Hamlet's like that, and Romeo and Juliet. Did you guys read Romeo and Juliet when you were in English 1? Did you read Caesar when you were in English 2? Yeah, you're supposed to read Julius Caesar. They're like that, right? Like at the end is sort of like bodies on top of bodies, and at the end of these plays, and this is no exception. We end up with all those deaths here at the end, and that's just the way that these plays kind of conclude a lot of the time. So let's look at the study guide. Are there, before I show you the film, or maybe you just want to watch the film. Do you want to watch the film on your own, or do you want to watch it here? Because you have the link to it. I don't know. Let's do the study guide, and you can be thinking about whether you want to sit here and watch it right now, or if you want to just, watch it on your own, since there's only two of you. Okay, so Act 5, Scene 1. Let's look through these questions here. A lot of it is about, a lot of what happens in Act 5 happens in a way on stage where there's overlapping. When you're reading it in the text, it's sort of like line after line after line. But like, take for example, the scene where Rodrigo stabs Cassio, and when Cassio retaliates. In that scene, like you have to read it sequentially because it's line after line, but they start yelling and people start showing up, and that happens sequentially. But in a real play situation, a lot of those things would be happening at once. You have to kind of envision that. Same thing with Scene 2, when just after Othello has strangled Desdemona, here comes Emilia. They hear her shouting, other people show up, all that sort of happening at once. So it's on top of each other. But when you read it, it's kind of like on stage, it wouldn't be, oh my Lord, what are you doing? Oh, it wouldn't be, it would be like at the same time happening. So I think it's important to read it like that. Are there any of these numbers in Scene 1 that you want me to talk about? Any of these quotations or any of these things that sort of clear up that confusion of what's happening in those situations? You can just put the number there in the chat if you want, and I'll talk about it. Number 8, what is the importance of Iago saying, this is the fruit of whoring to Emilia? Okay, so when Iago says this is the fruit of whoring, what he's doing is kind of like warning her and maybe even threatening her. And he uses the opportunity. He's not a very nice man, and he's not nice to his wife at all, especially when he murders her. But he uses her horribly for his own greed and jealousy. And she gets him to bring the handkerchief. And so either there's been something in their background that makes him think that she hasn't been faithful, or he's talking about women in general, but those are not really, we don't have much evidence in the play that Emilia has been unfaithful to him. I think that it's not being about unfaithful, but being disloyal in general. And I think he's warning her because she knows a lot. about, and she's the one who actually in scene 2 puts together everything that Iago's been doing, because as soon as she finds out that Cassio and Bianca had the handkerchief, she's like, wait a minute, I gave that to you. You must have planted it. Like, she starts to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and she knows too much, which is eventually why he kills her. So it's probably a threat either to keep quiet, or it could refer to something in her past, but I don't think I could support that very strongly with the text, because I don't think that there's enough there to back up that statement. Yeah. Any others? Any other quotations? All of them are significant, and remember that there will be a couple of quotations from the things that we've read mixed in with what you might get on the midterm. I wish I could say you will get a question with one of these quotations, but you might not. The system just randomizes, but you're going to want to prepare for it, no doubt. You could even move into scene 2 there. A lot happens in scene 2, so is there anything that I can do to clear up? I think if you think about the different deaths and how they occur in Act 5, you can kind of pretty much summarize the ending. Okay, number 20, because there is a lot of back and forth with the handkerchief. Okay, yeah, 20 is, okay, so let's just talk about the handkerchief from beginning to end. So we already know that Othello had given this handkerchief with strawberries to Desdemona. It's not an expensive gift, but it's a heartfelt gift. It's something that was his mother's. His mother said, oh, give it to your wife when you marry because it's magic and it will keep you together. And so it's something that is sort of like precious and special between the two of them, like couples have. And so when she loses it, she drops it one day when she's he's complaining of a headache, she drops it, and Iago had already been asking Emilia to get it because he wants to use it in his plot and his campaign to ruin Othello. And when she brings it to him, she doesn't know why he wants to use it, but she brings it because she thinks it's not that, okay, what big deal, it's a handkerchief. So Desdemona does lose the handkerchief, and there's a scene in Act 4 where Othello questions her pretty harshly about it because Iago has planted it on Michael Cassio. He just left it in his room. Cassio doesn't know what's up with this handkerchief, so he gives it to Bianca, this woman that loves him. I don't think he thinks that much about her, but anyway. So and while it's gone from her possession, Othello questions Desdemona harshly because it's the ocular proof, the seen is believing aspect of the infidelity. So when Othello sees Cassio and Bianca with the handkerchief, he thinks that Desdemona has given it to her lover, which is a total betrayal of this sacred object to their relationship. And for him, because the way Iago's working on him constantly without him even really knowing, because that's happening, he's easily led to believe that there was infidelity, but there hasn't been. In this scene, the handkerchief kind of brings everything together for Emilia. Emilia didn't think that the handkerchief was very consequential, but in this scene, when Othello says, but I saw the handkerchief, I had my ocular proof. It's not the same as catching somebody in the act, but to him, because Iago had pressured him and convinced him in his mind that she was unfaithful, he makes that leap. So when she realizes that's how Othello made his decision to kill Desdemona, then she knows she's the one who gave the handkerchief to her husband. So she looks to Iago and she's like, wait a minute, I gave you that handkerchief. What the hell did you do with it, right? And then she realizes that her husband set the whole thing up and caused the whole thing to occur. and that she was partially to blame in it. And so the handkerchief is symbolic in a number of ways throughout the play, and that symbol changes because it changes from the symbol of, you know, their purity and their romance to the symbol of, I guess, Iago's, the symbol of disloyalty between Desdemona and Othello, because Othello perceives it that way. And then finally, the symbol of the unraveling of the plot that Iago has been embarking on all this time to completely ruin Othello. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Look through the study guide. Are there any other topics on here that you want me to spend some time with? There is, don't forget these key concepts that are here at the bottom. These will show up if you get a question on the midterm about that, because I'm going to ask you to come up with a theme based on one of those topics. I put an image in there. I like to put images in the study guide sometimes because you can look at it and kind of get a summary of the ending of the play, right? Here we have Desdemona dead here on the bed where Othello strangled her. Here's Othello after he stabs himself. He is dead and he's being attended to there. And here's Iago, who is being arrested and he's going to be taken into custody. Who knows what's going to happen to him? But you can kind of see the final image there. Cassio's not in the picture, I don't think, unless this is Cassio, but I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. But Cassio has an injured leg. And at the end of the act and the end of the play, he's going to be the new governor of Cyprus. He was going to be anyway, and they were going to send Othello back. But he does survive. He survives the injury that Othello does on his leg. That Rodrigo does on his leg. So no other lines or questions? A lot of this stuff is plot related, so I know that's not too difficult to do. Okay, what do you think about the film? Do you want to just watch it on your own, or do you want me to play it right now? We could play it until 10, 11, watch the next, probably get into Act 4. Can you put your preference there in the chat so I'll know? Maybe if I don't play it, you won't go and watch it because it is in the Blackboard. There's a link to the video. All right, well, I don't hear anything, so I'm just gonna go. I would watch it on my own, watch it now. Okay. Joshua, you get to break the tie. Okay. Marcus, if you want to go and watch it later, that's okay. Where it is, let me show you where it is in the Blackboard. It's in that section of, oh, I don't have Blackboard up here. It's in the section at the bottom that is about other materials. There's a link and you can just watch the video. It's in my Google Drive, the whole film. So we're gonna watch into the beginning of Act 4, and we can watch the ending part together tomorrow. Okay, let's watch it then. What do you mean? Oh, let's watch it then. Okay, get it. Okay, I'll play it for you. Let me get my AirPods turned off. We're gonna pick up right at the end of Act 2. So where it will start will be the beginning of Act 3, focusing on how Iago is working his hatred and evil plan on watching it tomorrow.
Yes, madam. Whatever shall become of Michael Cassio? He's never anything but your true servant.
I know it. I thank you.